Afternoon, guys. Hope you're all doing good. I've just had another aha moment, hence my little message in the corner there. They always come when you seek them. And one of the disconnects that I've had with this being a simulacrum or a simulation, I think I pronounced that right, a simulacrum, which isn't a new word, by the way. It's actually a very old, ancient word. But anyway, so the disconnect that I've had with the information that I'm learning from Jason at Archaix and the occult, and why the occult are trying to hide certain philosophies and powers that we as beings possess. And Jason has actually just answered that question for me in an interview he's doing with Max Egan. Now, the premise of this video was initially to break down that Max Egan interview, because there's some really juicy snippets in there. And I have written some notes, so I'll likely go into that as well. But I just want to go back to the occult and the principles of both Thelema and the Hermetic philosophy. Now, this book, the Kybalion, again, it's a book that I started, and that I haven't yet finished because I've started on this book, Thelema, A Mystic Will, and book 1, The Magician. Now, this is actually a novel, and look how fat it is, and this is only book 1. I've got book 2 on my shelf there. And although it's a novel, it's bringing out some pretty juicy information about the occult, because as we know, everything is hidden in plain sight, and they present information to us as entertainment, and the news is information, whereas actually it should be the other way around. The news is entertainment, and films, etc., are truth hidden in plain sight. But the Kybalion, so this is Hermetic philosophy, and again, it's ancient philosophy. And I'm just going to read the 7 principles which form the basis of occult philosophy. So you've got mentalism, the all is mind, the universe is mental. That's actually on my bite-sized Gnosis. That's on the opening page of my bite-sized Gnosis page. Because once you understand that, you can really begin to understand manifestation and the power of what we place in our minds, or our brains rather, and I'm going to go into that in a minute. The difference between the brain and the mind is very important. So how I break that down or perceive that, the all is mind and the universe is mental. So the mind is the collective mind, and the universe being the mental aspect of our minds and where the manifestation happens. And when I talk about the brain and the mind, the brain, to me, this is how I break it down. Now, I was having a conversation with my friend on the site, and he sees things very differently to me. He thinks the mind and the brain are one of the same thing. I don't. My argument for that is when you pass, the mind just doesn't disappear and die off like the brain does. So if we think of ourselves as a computer, and I'm actually starting to surrender to the idea that we are indeed a computer and we are programmable. And when I listened to the video by Yuval Harari, who is Klaus Schwab's advisor, and he stated that we are all hackable animals, it really got my back up. But I'm actually starting to agree with that. We are hackable animals, and we are very programmable, and we've actually been programmed throughout all of our lives, and now it's our job to start unprogramming and start learning if indeed you're on that path that you're meant to be on. But anyway, so the brain to me is an organ, and when you pass, the brain dies. The mind doesn't die with the brain. The mind goes into the ether, the universe, whatever you want to call it, because it's energy. And Carl Jung talks about this. So Carl Jung talks about archetypes, and archetypes being how I understand it is our archetypes are past lives, and we bring with us into this life elements of our past lives. So I guess that's why if you have deja vu, or if you have so when we've seen these videos and heard stories of these children who are talking like little adults and they're very wise, you could say that they are tapping into their archetypes. But anyway, so number 2 of one of the 7 basic principles is correspondence. As above, so below; as below, so above. Now, I don't fully yet understand what that is. I understand it from a planetary point of view, if you like. So as above, you've got the universe above, and then so below, it's a mirror, and that's how I understand it. And please feel free to educate me on that, because it's not something that I've really gone into and made an effort to understand. Vibration: nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Now that's something that has really I've had a bit of a aha moment this last month, really. Matter, what is matter? And when I've watched holographic documentaries about this universe being a hologram, I've got it, but I've not got it, if that makes sense. I've got it in the sense that yes, I accept that this is a hologram, but I've not really fully understood why it's a hologram. Now, if you think that vibration is energy, and nothing rests, so if that energy is constantly vibrating at a frequency, it will form a solid material, matter. So we are matter. So if our energy and our frequency cease to exist, we would just poof into nothing. And it's the same as everything. And I remember many years ago I had a date with a Buddhist, and he tapped on the desk and he said, "You think that's real? You think it exists?" I'm like, "Well, yeah, it does, because I can feel it, I can touch it, I can see it." Now I really understand what he actually meant. So polarity: everything is dual, everything has poles, everything has a pair of opposites. So you've got black and white, dark and light. You can't have light without the dark, and vice versa. And again, the book goes into more about what these 7 principles are just referring to here. Rhythm: everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall. That's a law of nature. You can't get away from that. Cause and effect: every cause has its effect, every effect has its cause, everything happens according to law. I can't really expand on that, because I haven't studied it enough to really grasp it, to be able to relate it back to you guys. And gender isn't everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine principles. Gender manifests on all planes. And again, that is something that they're trying to corrupt at the moment, going into this new transhuman era. And again, I've surrendered to the fact that it's just something that we can't stop. Do you want a bite, Blue? Come on, fella. Oops. Go on, chap. Yes, so I've surrendered to the fact that there are certain things that are going on with these resets that we just can't stop. And the transgender and the transhuman is actually one of them. I feel it's just written in the stars and we can't stop it. Doesn't mean to say we have to be part of it, but we can't stop it. Because it's part of the Great Reset. It's all part of this simulation. It's written, it's coded. Just grab a cup of coffee. So, I'm just going to Thelema, 7 arts of Thelemic magic. So transmutation, to alter something's form. That's quite self-explanatory, quite easy to understand. Manipulation, akin to telekinesis, allowing legal persons to move on their own. Now, what I found really interesting about this is if you've been down the legal fiction route in your birth certificate and how we are classed as dead entities, and you understand that legal versus lawful, they are two completely separate things. Persons is actually, we are called persons because, again, it refers to the dead entity. And if you, Simon actually told me, if you Google or whatever mask, it actually states persons, so you can deduce that as slaves. And if you look back over the last 2 years, you can come to your own conclusions of what certain rituals that we've been playing out, or some people have been playing out, represents dead entity persons. And what I found really interesting is that was under manipulation, and again that was in the Thelema book. So again, the occult see us as dead entities. I'm not going to go into the whole legal fiction aspect of things. That has been a massive eye-opener for me as well these last 2 years, although I did know about the straw man many years ago, but I was like, nah, doesn't affect me. And then 2020 hit and I was like, oh my god, I need to learn all this stuff and I need to find it all out. So projection, allowing projection of will into or onto something, and again it's quite self-explanatory, and it's magic. So conjuration and annihilation allows you to summon objects or banish them. Now, those of you who know me well, who are watching this video, you will know that I have conjured objects into my reality. The only pitfall is I don't know how I've done it. So I might do a separate video on that later down the line, just talking about my experiences. Regeneration is healing, repair and restoration. Again, if you understand natural law, healing and energy and the power we have to heal ourselves, then you'll fully comprehend the regeneration aspect of the magic in the occult. Divination, drawing information from the divine. Now, again, we have the ability to do that. It's where so for example, I don't know how I got onto this path. Well, I do since I've had my reading. It's written in my path. But the information that I've been learning, it's almost like it's been downloaded for me. And oh, my little Rufus is sat behind me. Hello, sweetheart. So how it's typically done is your tarot cards, your astrology. So you use tools to draw information from the divine, whereas we do have the ability to do that without using the tools. So, and again, this is where I mentioned about the brain being hardwired. So the brain processes the information that that it receives, and the software is the mind. So again, this is where it's really important what you fill your mind with. The brain can't actually see the external. The brain is only processing information, and then it uses the chemicals within the body to create the emotions that you feel with information that you're giving the brain. So that's the occult philosophies of principles of two separate philosophies. And I've actually just bought, along with 8 of Jason's books, I've actually just bought Albert Pike's book, Morals and Dogma, about Freemasonry, because I really feel, for me, it's an important part of my journey to really understand this path and the reasons why. Because how I got onto the journey of the occult and Freemasonry is, when 2020 hit, I knew there was an agenda happening. I knew something was playing out. I just didn't know what. And then, of course, things started to unfold. And I really needed to understand why. Why were they doing this? Why were they doing this to humanity? Why did they want this control over us? They've already had control over us. Why do they want more? And now I'm starting to get the answers. But like I said at the beginning of the video, one of my disconnects is, why is this information available yet hidden? So it is hidden because it's not in your mainstream text. You wouldn't go to the library. You have to look for this information. It's like the Thelemic arts. Oh, my computer's just gone off. Just bear with me a second. Glitch in the matrix there. Maybe the Simulacrum or Archaix doesn't want me to do this video. So anyway, so this information is available, but you have to search for it. Like the Thelema book, I didn't want novels, and when I ordered them, I didn't realise I was getting novels. I think for the Thelema stuff, you have to go onto the dark web. Now, again, you can learn all about Freemasonry, but the point that I'm making is that it's not there in the mainstream. You don't learn about this stuff in schools and in your indoctrination camps. This book is based on going to magic school and a special school. So anyway, as usual, I waffle, I digress, but it all leads to the same road, or path to lead to Rome, as they say. So one of the disconnects is why, if we live in a simulation and the simulation is a benefactor for humanity, Archaix has come in to enslave humanity. That's what I'm gleaning from the information that I'm getting from Archaix. I had it all in my mind how I wanted to relay the information of where my disconnect was. So this information, we have powers, and understanding those powers, the art of magic, for example. Why has it been hidden from us, from the dark occult? And Jason's just actually answered that question for me. So the simulacrum, it reflects back circumstances. It has no feelings. It is neither good nor evil. What you broadcast is what you manifest. So if you're negative all the time, you're more than likely going to manifest negative eventualities into your life, and that obviously works the opposite as well. The simulacrum operates on frequency and frequency alone, and again, this is why a lot of my videos talk about frequency and how it's important to raise your consciousness, but I don't mean new age by that. So from ancient texts, so I've really gone off track. I had it, like I said, I had it all mapped out in my mind how I wanted to present this information. So my disconnect has been, why is this information hidden if the simulacrum is a benefactor? Basically, Archaix was introduced. So scriptures are an amalgamation of ancient texts passed through Jewish filters and Hebrewanized to make the Jews the rulers of the entire world. Simple there. I did it. So before the Jewish started to rule over humanity, we were able to use the powers that the benefactor gifted to us. For example, telepathy. Can't remember where I read it, but I read in ancient times, people didn't communicate or rather humans, I'm going to start using the word people, humans didn't communicate the way that we communicate. They used telepathy. So basically, the Jewish have come along, you could call it the Rockefellers, I don't know when it all started, and enslaved us all. And in order for us not to be reincarnated back into this simulation, again, this is something that I think I understand right. It's a bit like the soul reincarnation. Is you have to learn. So the Buddhists say there are 7. There's at number 7. There are 7 steps to nirvana, and once you reach nirvana, you won't be reincarnated. You won't come back into this prison planet. And I feel that those of us that are on the path of learning, we are gaining that knowledge to not being reincarnated back into this simulation. And this is what the simulation is about. It's about learning, so that we can go back into our true selves and gain the information that we learned here on this plane. Anyway, I waffled a little bit. I went a little bit off track. I fluffed up how I wanted to project the information to you, but I got there in the end, I think. Please feel free to subscribe, to leave a comment, leave your views, your point of view, and let's have a discussion. And I'll also link Max Egan's and Archaix video below, so you can go and watch that interview, because there are some real tasty nuggets in that interview. And of course, those of you who've been on the truth movement, this truth journey, you were very, very familiar with Max Egan. And the fact that Max is actually interviewing Jason is fantastic. So I shall leave it there. Do you want to have another look at Rufus? Is it? No, he's laid down. He's laid down. You can't see him. He's becoming a right little clingy kitten and really gaining trust. And it's so beautiful seeing a little animal blossom into his true self, who was very fearful. But anyway, I shall speak to you all soon, guys, and I'm really looking forward to getting Jason's books, and also the Dogma, the Morals and Dogma book by Albert Pike. And going forward, maybe I will read passages out of those books and open up discussion. Speak to you all soon. Bye now.